Could Derrick Rose go from Detroit to Los Angeles this offseason? According to a recent rumor, the Pistons point guard could be on the move in a trade from the Pistons to the Lakers. I'm your host, as always, Jimmy Crowther, breaking down all the latest NBA news and rumors going around the association. And today we're starting off with a fun one because the Lakers feel like they are in a good position to make a move for Derrick Rose. Now remember, at the trade deadline back in February, they were like, yeah, we might make a move for Derrick Rose. And then Dion Waiters and Markieff Morris got bought out, and they said, nah, we'll hold off. Plus, the Pistons wanted a first-round pick for D. Rose, and the Lakers were not willing to do that. But now they've circled back around, and according to multiple reports, they feel like they're in a good position to make a move for Derrick Rose this offseason. Now, the last few years for the former MVP have just looked very different. When he was in Cleveland, it was abysmal. He only lasted 25 games. Everybody thought he was about to just retire from the NBA altogether. He scored 8 points and 1 assist and 1 rebound per game, couldn't shoot the three well. And then these past 2 years in Detroit, it's been a complete 180. No, not MVP Derrick Rose, but back to a closer Derrick Rose that we know at 18 points per game, dishing the ball out well at 4.9 assists, and staying relatively healthy, playing 101 games over the last couple seasons, most of those coming in this past year. So I cooked up a little trade of what it might look like to get Derrick Rose from the Pistons. I don't think the Lakers are going to offer any more than this right here. I think they give up Caruso. You have to at least give up Caruso. I know Lake fans are probably going to freak out because he helped them win this championship and he was a huge piece of that. But if you're going to get a guy like Derrick Rose who can be a Sixth Man of the Year candidate or be a starting point guard now, you got to give up at least one established player. That would be Alex Caruso. Quinn Cook, a good shooter, didn't really play that much for the Lakers. In fact, they just left him in the bubble after they won Game 6. And then you have to give up this first-round pick as well this year, which will be around, I think, 29 for the Lakers. I think that's worth it. For the Derrick Rose you're getting now, who's putting up 18 points per game, I think you got to give up a little bit of defense, get a little bit of offense, and go all in this win-now mode with LeBron and Anthony Davis. Now, I don't think it's going to be Detroit, but I do think it could be Los Angeles. However, I think it could be either Los Angeles team, the Lakers or the Clippers. But I want you to make your predictions down below. Where is Derrick Rose going to play next season? Let me know in the comment section below. Make your predictions so that when he goes somewhere else, when he gets traded somewhere else, you can be the one to say, hey, look, I predicted it here in the comment section of this Chat Sports video. Now, one thing I want to tell you about right now is our friends over at Fanatics, a sweet new deal that's just now popping up. Chatsports.com/NBA shirt. You can get any of these player shirts shipped to your house for free for a limited time only when you go to chatsports.com/NBA shirt. No matter who your favorite team is or who your favorite player is, they have them available today at Fanatics, and a great deal at that. So again, one more time, that's chatsports.com/NBA shirt. That link is going to be in the comments and in the description of this video. Now let's talk about Russell Westbrook, one man who could be on the move to the Big Apple. Well, according to reports, he would embrace a trade to New York. That's what many execs believe. And they're also beginning to say that Leon Rose of the New York Knicks would turn his attention to Russell Westbrook if the Rockets make him available via trade. Now, we all know the Rockets are going through a lot of turnover right now. They don't have a head coach at this time. Their GM stepped down in Daryl Morey, and now they're stuck with this Russell Westbrook contract that's at 3 years, $131 million. Well, one team that could actually make it happen, cap space-wise, would be the Knicks. And here's the trade that I cooked up. I threw it in my trade machine, and I cooked it up, and this is what I came up with, and maybe think I'm crazy, but here's what I got. Julius Randle, because you got to make the money work. That makes it work. Kevin Knox, who's actually a good young forward offensively, but he had a bit of a struggle in his second season. Wayne Ellington, simply because, number one, more money, and number two, he's a good shooter, which we know the Rockets value very much. You got to send back, I think, Frank Ntilikina to give them some kind of point guard to build around, and then not one, but 2 first-round picks. So the Clippers pick this year, that's actually owned by the Knicks, and then Dallas's pick that came via that Kristaps Porzingis trade next season. So neither of those are going to be super high first-round picks, but I think you're giving up just enough to get a former MVP in Russell Westbrook, who's still going to give you close to a triple-double every single night. Now, no, he's not shooting the ball well. No, he hasn't been very efficient, and no, really his games and big numbers have not translated to wins. But if the Knicks want to make a splash, I guess this is the way to do it. And then all of a sudden you have a starting five that looks something like this. You throw Russ in at point guard with R.J. Barrett, who's really your future right now. Mitchell Robinson in the middle, who I absolutely love. Taj Gibson, I guess, if they pick up his team option, but I doubt that happens. And then you hope and pray that another wing like Devin Vassell out of Florida State falls to you with the 8th overall pick, and you have something to be excited about. Now, is this team going to make the playoffs? Maybe not, but are they going to be fun to watch over the next 5 years? Yeah, I think so. Now, on Houston's side of the ball, things just get real ugly. And in all honesty, when you look at this lineup, this is why the Rockets say hell no and they hang up. Because all you're getting here is Julius Randle in the middle. This makes James Harden the full-time point guard. Kevin Knox is coming off the bench, I guess, with Wayne Ellington. You get a couple picks out of this thing. But all of a sudden, this small ball lineup that you've committed to and this lineup that revolves around 2 stars has completely blown up in your face. And now you're left with is Julius Randle, Kevin Knox, and some picks. I think Houston says no. But I do think they are open to trading Russell Westbrook this offseason. Now, I don't think they get moved. In fact, I would say right now, if I'm the Rockets, you can't give up on Russ and Harden quite yet. And the reason is they don't have a head coach that has been able to play along with them. So I'm interested to see who they bring in for head coach, but predict now below. Maybe it's Houston, maybe it's somewhere else. Where will Russell Westbrook play next season? Now let's talk about a former Russell Westbrook teammate in Carmelo Anthony. Remember once upon a time when they played together in Oklahoma City? Yeah, I don't really remember it that well either. But anyway, the rumor here is that Melo would return to New York if they make a trade for Chris Paul, who's now with the Oklahoma City Thunder. So life is just a flat circle, time's a flat circle, and everyone ends up on the same teams that they are supposed to end up on in the same way anyway. But remember, CP3 and Melo did play together in Houston. They have a really good friendship, and the latest report is that if they can find a way to get Chris Paul, Carmelo will join him in New York. Now, these two guys had great bounce-back years last year, 35 and 36 years old, 15 points per game for Melo. He shot the ball really well at 38% from 3. Chris Paul led the Oklahoma City Thunder to the playoffs and averaged 17 points, 7 assists, and 5 boards. They are really good players, but I'm not going to say you give up future assets to get either one of them. Now, Scoop B. Robinson is the guy who actually put this report out there, and this was the trade idea that he came up with. So this is not me. This is not a Jimmy Crowther trade special. This is Scoop B's trade idea here. Kevin Knox, Frank Ntilikina, Bobby Portis, if they pick up his team option, which they shouldn't because he has like $15 million on that deal, Elfrid Payton to make the money work, and then a first-round pick next season and a second-round pick next season as well from the Charlotte Hornets to get you Chris Paul. Now, if I'm the Thunder, I say absolutely. You get 2 young players in Knox and Ntilikina. You get 2 more draft picks to add to your already loaded draft stash that you have. You get a young forward in Bobby Portis. And Elfrid Payton, you'll probably just waive eventually anyway. But this is more than I think you're going to get for a lot of offers for Chris Paul. I like this for OKC. For New York, I say absolutely not. Here's the reason why. If I'm New York, I'm saving up cap space for 2021 when better players are available. And number 2, I'm not trading away my young guys and my young draft picks for guys that are 30-plus years old that are just going to lead me to a first-round exit in the playoffs anyway. Chris Paul and Melo are good. But if you get both those guys on this team, what are you, really? An 8 seed, a 7 seed, maybe in the Eastern Conference that is an exit in the first round? I say no thank you. But assuming both these guys are on the block right now, which is ironic because both of them got traded for each other last season, which one would you rather have? Type CP3 for Chris Paul, type Russ for Russell Westbrook. If we're talking just next year, it's probably still Chris Paul, If we're talking for the long haul, I mean, Russell Westbrook's still 30-plus years old, but I'd rather have him longer than what I'd have Chris Paul for. In all honesty, I'm not taking either of them. I don't want either of them on my team because their contracts are too big for what they are doing. I like them both. They both had good years, but I'm out on paying them the money that they get. Now, if you're an NBA fan and you're not subscribed to Chat Sports, I really don't think you're an NBA fan at all because we have all the best NBA news and rumors. We go live every single Friday where I'm answering all of your questions. We also go live when any breaking news happens. We're going to be live for the entire NBA draft, which is exactly 1 month from today. So hit that big red subscribe button. Go to youtube.com/chatsportstv. Guys, we just hit 200,000, so we're obviously doing something right. Get us to 300,000 next. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you keep subscribing. Now let's stay in New York with Dennis Smith Jr. Apparently, the Orlando Magic are interested in making a trade for Dennis Smith Jr. Now, they've shown interest in the past. They showed interest in him in 2018. But now they have Markelle Fultz in the picture. So I don't understand where this rumor is coming from. And I don't understand why Orlando would have any interest in trading for DSJ. Now, in 2018, in their rookie years after they got drafted, Dennis Smith Jr. looked like the much better player. 15 points per game, shot better than 39% with the Dallas Mavericks. He played in a nice amount of games at 69. He had 5 assists per game. He was pulling down rebounds. He was an electric player. He looked like the second best point guard out of that draft at the time. And then, fast forward a little bit, and all of a sudden the former number 1 overall pick, who now they're both on completely different teams than who drafted them, Markelle Fultz looks like the much better player. Where he played in 72 games, he was relatively healthy. Dennis Smith Jr. couldn't stay healthy with the Knicks. Dennis Smith Jr. couldn't score the ball well. He shot the ball less than 35% from the field as a whole, and Markelle Fultz looked like the better player. So I think I'm just going to absolutely debunk this rumor right now. I don't think there's any reason Orlando should trade for Dennis Smith Jr. Go all in on Markelle Fultz. But here's my thing. Get Dennis Smith Jr. out of New York. The kid can still play. I know for a fact. I've seen him with my own 2 eyes. I watched every game of his rookie year. I know Dennis Smith Jr. is a good player. I still believe in him, but you got to get him out of New York. Let me know. Before we get out of here on today's video, I want to know, do you still believe in Dennis Smith Jr.? Type Y for yes or type N for no. You can catch me typing my Y for yes in the comment section.